Welcome to Life on Mars, podcast about entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology of MarsBased. Today, I don't know when you listen to this podcast, we've got Victoria Gago here. We met a couple years back, actually, through Danny Salmon, a business partner, on a plane, if I remember correctly, going to Denmark, going to two separate conferences, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about conferences. Are they coming anytime soon? Offline conferences, that is, because we have online events, we have hybrid events, we have streaming events, and we talked about concerts and the music industry in a couple episodes back, and we want to know about the business side of conventions, right? Hello, Victoria. Welcome to our show. How are you doing?
Hello, Alex. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm doing well, and I'm excited to be here today.
Great, thank you. So let's talk about, because one of the things that you're involved in many things, right? You've got a fertility startup. You are the director of a master's program about blockchain. You're involved in several technological innovation initiatives. And one of the things that you do is you organize the European Blockchain Convention. Can you tell us a little bit, just to give some context, what is it about?
What it's about? What we do at the European Blockchain Convention is to connect the European blockchain ecosystem. And we do that through our conferences and through new initiatives we have currently launched just this month. So at the European Blockchain Convention, we have connected the European blockchain ecosystem through conferences in Barcelona, where both you and I are based, but also in Copenhagen. And then now, due to COVID, we were forced to go online.
Yeah, but okay, so let's talk about how it started. When did you decide to create a conference? What were the reasons? Because there's a lot of reasons to organize a conference. Some people do it for the money. Some people do it because they want to create an impact in the ecosystem. Some they want to build a network. Some they do it because it's part of their marketing strategy in the company. What was your reason?
Well, it all started back in 2017, where I got into blockchain and I got into Ethereum, and Bitcoin. I was working in a financial institution here in Barcelona. So it was a group where we had a private equity fund where I was working, and Daniel Salmon was working in the asset manager part of the business. And I started investing in Bitcoin and in Ethereum. And I realized that there was a huge potential behind this technology. So one thing is to invest in some of these cryptocurrencies, but actually the potential behind this technology was huge. So in 2017, I said to Daniel, hey, let's bring together decision makers to discuss the use of blockchain. Because, if we're just a bunch of not being decision makers of big corporates talking about this technology, that's cool, but we're not gonna move the technology forward. And then he was like, now, why bring together people? Why create a conference? Makes no sense. Then I asked him the year after, in 2018, I was like, hey, should we do this conference? Bring together big corporates, listed from European stock exchanges, even mid-sized companies, governments, any important organizations. And he was like, okay, why not? And again, the main objective was to evolve together with this technology, but we knew, coming from the financial industry, that it's not enough to have young people or enthusiasts in this technology to make it evolve. You need people to invest time, you need people to invest money, and big corporates have more money to invest and have more resources in terms of human capital to invest in this technology. So that's a bit the background.
And you started offline, though, right?
Exactly. We started offline,
How was the experience of creating a first, how big was it? Just to give some context, we also organized a conference in MarsBased. We organized Start Brand Conference, right? And the first one was quite a challenge, because even though we had been grinding it out for 5 years at the time, so we had a monthly event, and then it was sort of relatively easy for us to transition from a monthly event to bring people to a conference, because we had a brand, right? But in your case, you were creating something new. How was that challenge like?
So that was interesting. First of all, both of us were working in the financial industry, so we were working 24/7. And then at the same time, we had to create this ambitious conference. And the thing is, in 2018, there were a lot of crypto crazy people who were who were there to make a lot of money quickly. Also, we had the whole ICO boom. I don't know if you heard about it, but the ICOs were basically
I remember that.
Yeah, it was like a lot of PowerPoint presentation raising millions of billions in crypto coins to bring forward their projects. So you had to kind of prove that you were not, a crazy initiative, just wanted to make like quick money without actually bringing any value to the community. So, we were like very, I guess, aware of that. We had to bring, big companies, like listed big companies, like maybe Santander, one of the largest banks in the world, or to bring central banks. If you have a central bank participating in your Congress, it gives you like a stamp of that. Okay, this is the real shit, right? So
how did you get them? How did you get them, by the way? Because it's not for a first initiative. It's easy to get speakers for like, it's a third edition of this conference, right? But for the first one, how did you get like central banks and the like?
Yeah, exactly. How did we do that? So, I think I've always been good to connect with people through LinkedIn. So like speaking to people and getting to know important people. And we both did that. So I managed to speak to one of the heads of Santander Innovation Investment Bank side of the business. And he got me into like, so have you heard about Alastria?
Yeah.
Alastria, yeah. So it's a Spanish consortium focused on blockchain. So I got into their WhatsApp group. And Daniel got to speak, I think, through LinkedIn to one of the board members of the Swiss National Bank. So this board member was like, let's create a central bank central bank panel. And he connected us, with other central banks. So I guess, but also I think, so Daniel was working in fixed income. And, he understood exactly how, central bank works. And he was like, okay, I read this paper, and I guess also this board member of the Swiss National Bank was like, okay, this is serious young people who are trying to put together a serious conference. So I guess it was like that. But we were always thinking about like bringing like people with experience and also with important names, right? And ignoring all those experts in blockchain who actually, would not bring any value to our conference, right?
Yeah. How did you separate the grain from the chaff? Because there's a lot of so-called experts. It's the same like if you organize a conference in technology, you would get a lot of agile coaches and professional speakers, people who know so much about agile, yet they've never worked in IT projects, right? But they know the theory. I have the feeling that is, there's a parallelism between that and blockchain cryptos, right? How do you get rid of, let's say, professional speakers?
Yeah. Well, I don't mind professional speakers, but
this people just do speaking for a living, but they don't have any sort of tangible experience, so to speak.
So, I guess also coming from the financial industry, we knew how to analyze companies, projects, right? Yeah. So we had that experience. So it's not like we were going to invest in the Swiss National Bank or in Santander, but we knew how to analyze a company and to see if they actually had a small team working on blockchain, right? And actually had something to offer, to share. So that's how we got through it. Basically analyzing the different companies or consultancy firms to see if they could actually offer something. So, but again, always thinking of like, okay, we wanted to be like high level, work with the good names, serious names in the industry. So yeah, analyzing basically. Yeah.
But back to the original question, because I interrupted you twice with two sub questions. But the first question was like the challenge of creating the first conference. What was like the toughest parts? Where we're like, we didn't have experience in this. We didn't expect so many people to turn up, or we fucked up in ordering the catering. I don't know, things like that.
I think everything was a challenge. But I think one main challenge was to figure out who my clients were. Because from the very beginning, for us, this was going to be a business. So it was going to be like a sustainable business. Well, I think that was our goal. So it was not just, just for fun. It was actually, we wanted to bring value to the community, but also to make it sustainable financially. So one challenge very clearly was to figure out who my clients were. So obviously we had one part of the business were to sell tickets and then to sell sponsorships. And that was difficult. I guess it's very normal when you start a business. You don't know exactly who your clients are or should be or could be. So I reached out to a lot of companies trying to sell sponsorships, and it was like, that's not how it works. So in the first edition, we had very few sponsors. We actually managed to sell a lot of tickets, but we had very few sponsors. Yeah, so we sold a lot of tickets, but and actually, so that was a challenge, and we are still working on that, but we have improved. We are becoming better to realize and to offer our services to the right clients. So that was a challenge. Who are our clients? Another challenge, I guess, is also to bring together, because our goal was to bring 500 people together. That was also a challenge. A challenge because there were so many people that wanted to attend for free.
That's the thing about business, right? Business conferences. Oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah. So this first edition could have been huge. I think 500 people is huge. I was very happy and proud of that. But there was so many people that could have attended for free. But I was like, no, I'm not gonna, work for free for you. I'm actually providing a service, and there is a lot of work behind this. I cannot have, I cannot work for free for you, and I cannot also pay your food, your drinks, your
Correct.
this and that. Yeah, because we celebrated the first edition. We always do that in like expensive, places, 5-star hotels kind of thing. And the food and everything there is super expensive. I'm like, I don't go to a restaurant and say, hey, if you want, maybe I can wash some dishes and then you can give me some free food, right? It's like, no. So that was also challenging to actually, get enough people there. And obviously an important part, paying tickets. And obviously saying no to a lot of people, because I'm like, no, I'm not gonna give you this for free. So that was another challenge. And I guess also proving to people that this was serious and that we could actually offer, a good conference, right? Because we were nobody, right? We were nobody. And then suddenly we appeared and we're like, no, this is serious. This is a brilliant conference, serious speakers, serious projects, right? So that was also a challenge. I think those three, like who were my customers, selling tickets and filling up the space with 500 people, and proving that this was the real shit.
Yeah, because usually in the first editions, it's easy to think big. And then, so overpromise and under-deliver, right? You think you're going to sell 500 tickets. So you book a place for 500 people, right? And you book catering for 500 people, maybe a little bit more because they will be hungry, right? Because you don't know the rules of the game. Yeah. And you think you're going to sell this amount of sponsors. You end up not selling all of them. And so, I don't know, like most conferences don't make their ends meet for a couple of editions, at least 2-3 editions, until they start breaking even or generating serious money, right? So how was it for you financially? Like, was it good from the get-go? I take it that because it was something perhaps niche and super hot at the moment, people were hungry for these kind of conferences, so that they were eager to pay tickets. But for most conferences, first year, no one pays tickets for. Yeah. How is it for you?
So, I think we managed to create a good edition, also financially, because we were very strict, as I said before, in terms of, if you want to attend, you need to buy a ticket. Obviously, the speakers had a right to bring several colleagues or friends and all that. We also had a lot of free tickets, but that's different because, that's for the speakers or for the partners. But anyone who wanted to attend, who were not, a contact or a friend of a speaker or from our partners' side, if they were very eager and maybe the ticket was a bit too expensive, then we would provide some discounts to make it maybe a bit more financially easier for them to pay. But also we had our newsletter and had different discounts coming through our newsletter, so people could buy a ticket with an offer that was valid for like, I don't know, a few days, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, on the ticket side, it went very well. And as you said, the technology blockchain was very hot in 2018. But I still think, we were very active even on LinkedIn, speaking to people and negotiating there. I mean, we spent a lot of time selling on LinkedIn, actually.
But again, pretty active on social media. So I guess that helps too if your audience is there, because you maybe, I don't know if you had built your network before or you built it at the same time that you were building the network for the conference. That's my question.
We built it at the same time. Time.
All right.
Yeah, at the same time. No. I mean, we were nobody. I mean, we did not exist in the blockchain ecosystem.
However, and ticket-wise, I think it was somehow easier to sell because it was a financial conference, as opposed to maybe we're on the side of entrepreneurship conferences, where startup conference, we know entrepreneurs are broke and don't want to pay for tickets, right? But if you have central banks, people from Santander, people from, big consultancies, like you probably had people from Accenture or EY, things like that they are super into this space as well. They want to speak in conferences. They're more corporate, therefore a company pays for the tickets, right? Was it easier for you to get ticket sales because of that?
Part of our customers who bought tickets are from big corporates, and I guess for them it's easier to to invest in a ticket because they have the budget to attend business conferences throughout the year. But we also had a lot of I would say freelancers or from smaller companies, startups and so on that bought tickets because maybe they were looking into the technology, or maybe they wanted to learn more, or maybe they had just started their startup in the blockchain space, right? So they also bought tickets. But we could see, obviously, because what we did was to start with cheaper tickets, and then the prices would increase when we got closer to the event date, that a lot of corporates bought the last few days. And they don't mind maybe paying, double up the price because, they have the budget to pay for these tickets. But to be honest, I mean, we had to sell, as I said before, on LinkedIn, not just LinkedIn actually, we never, to be honest, we never talked about prices on LinkedIn and Twitter, never. So we were talking about our conference all the time and making, promotion. But when I said we were selling on LinkedIn was if I had a conversation with you on LinkedIn through the chat, like that. So there was a lot of push there. There was a lot of manual work there. So I'll be talking to you and be like, oh yeah, I would love to attend, but ticket price is so expensive. And I'll be like, okay, maybe let me check. Maybe I can do something for you. And then I would, give you a discount to make it easier for you to be able to pay. Oh, but I think at the end of the day, sometimes we discuss this obviously internally, that should you pay, should you not pay for tickets? But I believe that if you pay for a ticket, you're going to be much more valuing the product, because you're going to be there because you paid for your ticket, than if you attend something free. I mean, I can see it myself. If I attend something free, I'm there 50% or 20%, or maybe I'm not even there, right? So if you buy a ticket, you're going to enjoy much more the product, much more for the service.
Yeah, that's from the buyer's perspective, right? From the end user perspective. As I know I paid sometimes I'm not sure about whether I will go to a concert, for instance, but if I think I should go, I will buy the ticket, because then it's okay, I will go because I've already bought it. If you postpone the decision, you're not sure about it and you probably will not go. But from the organizer standpoint, it makes it that free events have got an uncertainty of 80%. Right? Whereas paid events, it can go down up to 10%, 5% even, right? So if you're buying catering, if you're securing a venue for a certain amount of people, if you're buying drinks, coffee, break, snacks, and whatever, you need to know the amount of people. You need to know, and you need to make sure they come, because otherwise, if it rains, for instance, they will not go if they didn't pay for the ticket, right? But if they paid for the ticket, they will come, even if it's fucking pouring, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to have your conference empty, right? Yeah. That's the worst thing that could happen. So it works both ways, actually. That's why we charge for our events, right? Not the online events right now, because there's a pandemic going on, and we don't really need it. But for the conference, it's there's no free tickets, and it's easier to make no exceptions than to make a few exceptions, right? You need to be very strict on that. How many people did you get in the conference? Because you did several editions, right? So on average, how many people do you get, and what profiles are they?
Yeah, in the first edition we were 500, which was our goal. 500
good
throughout
for first edition, yeah. So,
yeah, and it was our goal. But I think also me and Daniel were very, very much like, or Daniel and I were very much like, okay, if we promise something, we need to deliver it. We were like, it would be so embarrassing, and if you start promising something and you don't deliver that,
you mean the number?
Affect you. Yeah, the number of participants. I think. I mean, I know so many events say, okay, we're gonna be like I don't know, like thousands, and then they're like nobody. And I think, I mean, it's also a way to prove, to your customers that if you say something, you're gonna deliver it. So we were 500 in first edition. Then in Copenhagen, we were close to 400, or maybe a bit less. Well, in the Nordics, obviously, it's a smaller market, right? Yes. And then in Barcelona, in January, we were 600.
Wow!
And in the online edition, we managed to have 1,500 people in September.
Wow. Okay, how many relatives did you get into the first edition? Now, what was the percentage
relatives?
Of people?
Very few relatives.
Just kidding. Normally in the first edition of something, you gotta chase your friends and relatives. So friends, family, and fools come to the event. Just like whatever people. You just in the first edition, you need whatever people, right? And that's
we had few.
No, just kidding. But so you doubled your size for the online. That means there's still a hunger for this kind of conference. And obviously online you get exposure to a broader market, because you could have people from New Zealand who wouldn't fly their asses off to Barcelona or to Copenhagen for a day of conference or 2 days, right? But online is why not? But at the same time, you're competing against everybody else's, right? Yeah. So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about the offline, and then you will jump into the online. But what's the networking like in your event? Because that's a big part of the conferences, right? There's a lot of people, like me, for instance, we don't go for the content in the conferences, but we still go to conferences because there's the backstage, right? So there's the party. Well, I mean, there's the parties, there's the networking, there's the satellite events, right? There's events happening, nearby that you want to attend. There's the private dinners, private meetings. There's a serendipity of bumping into other people. That's what I go to conferences for. But how's the networking? What is this kind of, the network generation aspect in your conference like?
That's very important, obviously. So when it's a physical event, we always have like a reception the night before the day of the conference. But this is only for speakers. Yeah, and like the most important people, but also the ones who bought a VIP ticket, basically. We don't call it a VIP ticket, but to put it a name, VIP ticket. So it's a smaller petit comité. We have it was fun in the first edition. That was very ambitious. In the first edition of the European Blockchain Convention, we did the reception in a 1-star Michelin restaurant.
Wow, that must have been expensive.
No, but the thing is, actually,
hope you had good sponsors for that.
No,
how many people were there? Like how many speakers and VIPs?
It was small. It was for 30 people or something. I mean, it was very small, but
pretty big.
Yeah, but the thing is actually, you can get like some good menus, 1-star Michelin menus for a price that is not too bad. I mean, compared to other services. But, when you grow, you cannot do that. But that was, I think that was very also to start very high level. We did not do that the year after. But so we always have the reception the night before. And then throughout the conference, the first year was 1 day. So we would have breaks throughout the day between the panel discussions. We have one stream. So we would have a few panel discussions, break. Panel discussions, break. So people have the opportunity to network throughout the day between the panel discussions. What we have seen is, to be honest, that most people, when the panel discussions are going on, are in there. People want to learn. I guess it's because it's still, a new technology. It's not like, when you do a conference and it's startups, it's investors, maybe a lot of those participants, attendees do not need to learn more stuff, right? So they can be outside networking. But in our conferences, whenever a panel discussion starts, people go in, which is cool because you can see people taking notes and they're very learning a lot. So, but I mean, I guess for some people, it would be better to have more networking space, like maybe having a break that is longer. But then what do you do with the content? I mean, you need to provide all the content as well. So it's difficult for us to, to fit in more time for networking because we have so much content. And again, when you're working with a five-star hotel, if you need to have another day at the venue, more food, more coffee, more kava, it's just much more expensive. So we try to reduce it in terms of, days, right? Having it 1 day or 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, and precisely, you brought up a really good point here. When I was mentioning all these networking parts, I missed one of them. There's like the speakers dinner, right? Well, speakers reception, VIP, whatever. Yeah. Because in the backstage, there's a lot of business to be done, and speakers will remember if they went to a conference and they got a contract, right? Or they got like some, or investment or whatever, or this startup who's doing really well that meets on the backstage the VCs of Atomico or Target Global or Point 9 Capital, and they talk, and that a few months in, that results into some fundraising, right? It's like, oh, I met them at this conference, right? And this is something attendees don't see, but speakers who make a conference, so to speak, because they're the selling point of the conference, right? If you see good speakers, you're going to go. This is really important to nurture this part. So let's jump to online now, because in the online, it's really difficult to make this part happen. How do you make the interaction between speakers happen? Or did you skip it for the first edition of the online conference?
Good question. For us, it was very important to provide networking throughout the online event, which was in September. We were actually very scared. Well, I guess that's normal. We were scared, but we had one attendee, two attendees that attended our edition in Barcelona physically, and were like pushing us and said, hey, if you do an online edition, we will sponsor the networking tool and the platform. And it was like, okay, yeah.
Was it their platform or?
No, it was not their platform, but they wanted to be sponsors, and then they would pay for the networking tool, which is actually quite expensive. Yeah. Oh, and I was like, okay, that makes it easier, right? Because then, the first fixed cost you will have, it's going to be already covered, right, by a sponsor. So that pushed us, but we were very scared. We analyzed different tools, different platforms that provide networking opportunities for attendees that are attending an online event. And we decided to go with Brella, which is a Finnish company startup. And how does it work with the networking there? So basically, you will create a profile to see all the conferences, all the panel discussions, but also to be able to network. So I would create a profile there, and you would have a profile there, Alex. And then I could, send a request, as you do on LinkedIn. And it could be to chat or to have a one-to-one meeting. So like with camera. And these one-to-one meetings, we decided that they should be 15 minutes long. I think it was 15. Yeah. And then if people wanted to continue talking, they could always use, other tools like Zoom or so on. So the thing is, when you have to network online, you need to be very active yourself, but it can be very efficient. We had one sponsor that said this was amazing, because obviously when you are in physical events, sometimes you end up speaking to people who are not that relevant to you. But you need to be nice, and you need to continue the conversation for a while before you say bye-bye, right? Because you don't want to be rude. So for them, they were like, okay, this was so efficient. We could like scroll down and, request meetings with all the people we wanted to. Obviously, you cannot expect everybody to accept you, but they literally spoke to so many relevant people thanks to this, pick and choose, right? But for other sponsors, it was like, it was difficult for them to get to use the tool. But it's actually quite powerful if you use it the right way. But it's different. It's very different.
I know. And I'm sort of a romantic, and I think that you lose serendipity this way, because people are screening you based on whatever basic little information you got. And maybe some underdogs that will not have the ability or the chance to speak to higher profile people just because their profile is not very appealing, right? So it's sort of like a Tinder for for networking, which is sad in a way, right? I mean, I'm just thinking of the amount of times people have told me, like, I was at Web Summit and I bumped into this guy, and it was like a really big important VC, or he was from the government of Singapore or whatever, and I didn't have anything, but like I got really good connections or contracts. I had a really good chat with him. That wouldn't happen in this sort of environments, right? Is this something that you think it will stay like this, or will we sort of come across like a new way of making the serendipity online as well? How do you envision, like, how could we improve this part?
Yeah,
because it doesn't feel fair for newcomers.
No, and you're so right. But I want to tell you a story about our last edition in September.
Sure, go ahead.
We had a young guy, I think he was 18 years old, who helped us out, like maybe writing a few articles, and he got a free ticket. And this guy, we could see who had reached out to more people. I think he reached out to everyone, like everyone.
But was he spamming, or was it
nice?
No,
I mean, he's a smart guy, but like also very like ambitious. And by reaching out to everyone, somehow some of these high level people, a certain percentage, would also accept a call with him, right? So, I mean, it depends on how ambitious you are. If you really want, I mean, like this guy, you can actually also get to speak to high level people, but obviously it's different. It's not like you bump into them. You need to have them accepting your request, right? So for the future, we believe that events will be probably hybrid. So you will have a physical part of the event and then the online part. And well, for the physical, as you said, yeah, you get to bump into opportunities maybe you don't have online. But also, I think it's great to have people attending from, I mean, in our edition now in September, we saw people from very exotic countries attending. And I think if it was physically, maybe they wouldn't be able because of the, all the fees and all the cost in terms of traveling and so on. So it gives also those people an opportunity to connect, right, with the ecosystem here in Europe, and they can make business or partnerships as well, right? So that's also a way of giving, other people far away opportunities without having them traveling to Barcelona. So for the future, hybrid.
Yeah. Let's before we go into the future. So what was the biggest changes you saw between going offline and online? What did you lose? What did you win? What did you not expect? For instance, how was the change?
Well, so we promised to have 1,500 people.
Yeah.
Attendees.
Wow. I mean, that's super ambitious. Again, how many relatives?
That was Daniel's idea. And I was like, no, that's too much. I mean, stop it. Stop it. And he was like, no. We need to grow. And I'm like, yeah, but because sometimes I'm like, I mean, it's not about the size. It's also about having the right people there, right? Not just having it huge. And then when you connect with people, they're not that relevant to you. Yeah. But that was a challenge. Because in terms of selling tickets, we didn't sell many more tickets compared to the other editions, but we had to provide more free tickets to our speakers, to our partners, and even we had to do some other creative stuff to get more people attending for free. So we had this press pass. And then this press pass, you had to do something. You had to kind of work a bit for us.
Yeah, sort of tweet about it, write a blog post, send it in your newsletter.
Exactly. So it was a challenge. I mean, even though it was online, because people are like, but when it's online, it's easier.
You don't have any cost. It's free, right? It's free.
But it's not free when you have a conference. It's not free, and also it's not free when you're selling tickets to other. You need to make sure that people.
Correct.
Don't realize that you're giving free tickets just like that. We were not. So people had to work for us, right? So it was a challenge to get 1,500 people. It was. It was. It was a challenge, I guess, also the technical part, because we did it all internally. We did it. We didn't have like.
What tool?
So we used Umbrella. That was our tool.
Okay,
and then we
I thought that was for networking only.
But also, for the actual panel discussions, the speakers would meet in Zoom, and this was connected to Umbrella.
Right.
We were also using Twitch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Twitch as well for the streaming. So people know the speakers would meet in Zoom. We would have the meeting there, or the panel discussion there, and then we used Twitch to stream it on the platform. And then we used another software. I don't remember right now the name. So that was also obviously a challenge to connect all these softwares, and also it was a challenge to make sure that all speakers would be there on time, that all speakers would.
Good luck with that.
Exactly. Well, we managed actually. With 100 speakers, we managed. But there was also a lot of work, logistics work behind making sure that it was very easy for the speakers to connect, to know, to this, to that. We did a lot of logistics behind to make sure that everything would went smooth on the day. And to be honest, to be like a small conference like us, in terms of team, compared to other big events and conferences and so on, and people were like, okay, wow, you did a great work. Amazing that you had no issues, that you had no this and that other conferences had, which have more capacity in terms of human capital and even in terms of normal cash. So
how about reset? Like sometimes a speaker is late to your offline conference, right? And that happens all the time. And so you can swap his session or her session with the next one. Usually it's not a big deal because the people on the next panel are already there and they have enough time. Maybe, there's flexibility, so you can swap them. But online, I think because they don't have to travel there will be more, I'm going to connect just 1 minute before. And I know I have the exact time because I got another conference call right after the panel, right? So I assume, I haven't done it, but I think there's less flexibility, right? How is it in your case? Did you experience this, or how did you manage if it happens?
So what we did was, our conference is mainly panel discussions. So we created basically a group on WhatsApp for each panel. Okay, so we had everybody connected there in case we had to say something urgently through that chat.
How many groups did you have? Wow.
25.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot.
With central banks, with all these high level people.
Good contact. That's good telephone numbers.
But I'm not going to use them. As well.
Of course not.
No. But you have them. But so we had everyone in their groups on WhatsApp. Then we asked everybody. So if their panel discussion would start at 10, we would meet. Everyone would meet. Everyone means the speakers. And then either me or Daniel would meet in Zoom 15, 20 minutes before. And then we would test, and if somebody came a bit later, it would still be before 10 sharp. So we were there.
Most of the time, it's like a lot of people just would come. Yeah, I know I have to be 15 minutes before, but not going to happen, right?
Well, but actually, they did. I don't know. I think also it was very easy for them to connect. They had the invitation in the calendar. Sometimes, for a conference, they send you the invitation. You did it as well today, for example. It was easy for me to connect because I had it in my calendar. But sometimes, the organizers send you a link in an email and you have to find the email. So we did everything possible for make it as easy, the user experience for the speakers, and to make sure they were there. So it went, very well. And we were able to start on time. We were able to finish on time, maybe a few minutes, of delay here and there. But I think we did a good work there. But a lot of logistics.
A lot of logistics. Yeah, you need to make it as easy as possible. Send an email with information, CC their personal assistant, and
we don't CC any personal assistant. In the European Blockchain Convention, it's very much like
I need to talk to you, right? Yeah.
Yes. Tú a tú. In Spanish, you say, it's like, even though you are the managing director of this or whatever, it's like, I'm speaking to you. I think of 100 speakers, we had 1 or 2 people where the assistant was in CC. Because I prefer to speak to you, and explain you, because you are the one who has to be there, not your assistant or your employee, right?
I know some people are very difficult to deal with, and even though that's because they're so busy, they cannot take care of reading an email, right?
No, I know, but we try really to be speaking directly to them, and even on purpose sometimes I don't even put in copy any colleagues or any assistants or so on. So
we had people just showing up at the conference like, what time am I speaking? It's like, dude, in 2 minutes, right? or what am I talking about? What's the conference? What's the language of the conference? Or what's the name of the conference? It's like, oh Jesus, like some
Why
people are
am I
totally
here?
lost.
Yeah.
Because it's been managed by their internal team, and therefore they're just told to be there at this time, and given some information their brains cannot handle because they're thinking about their fundraising, or I'm selling the company, or I'm acquiring a company, right? So it's good that you managed to do it. Like, congratulations, because that's one of the most difficult parts is manage the speakers. Like, managing the speakers. Every speaker is a different world. Like, we have speakers who show up at a different venue. We have speakers who think they're speaking at a different time. We have speakers who don't know what they're talking about. Or they had a bad day and they're like, I know I'm scheduled for 40 minutes. I've got only 25. Like, what?
What? I guess we worked very hard to make sure, that for them it was easy, but also, nice for the audience to be there listening and having the speakers there in time and leaving when they had to leave, right?
How about the future then? So you mentioned hybrid, and that's something that we discussed a couple episodes ago about the music industry, and we agree here. It's going to be hybrid, right? In person, for the ones that want to be there and want to have the networking, they want to have the catering, perhaps they want to have these other surrounding events, and online for people who just want to stream it but still want to be there, right? Which is, I think it's good. But like, what's your vision of do you think like the online people will also have to be monetized as well, or that people will have to be there for free, for instance, because they're not experiencing the whole package?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we still believe that they should pay for a ticket when it's online, because there is still, when we're paying for a lot of, softwares, platforms, and so on behind.
Oh yeah.
To be able to provide this service, and also, for you to be able to network. Maybe you could have a type of a ticket, maybe where you don't have the opportunity to do the networking, because that way you reduce some costs. But I still believe, again, I mean, if you pay for something, you're going to be much more excited and you're going to be there. Obviously, if you are very busy and something happened that day, you won't be able to be there. But I think, people need to pay for attending a business conference.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's it. Yeah.
And how about speakers? Because we've seen that in some conferences, right? It was sort of pioneered a few years back, and you see that sometimes this really huge speaker cannot make it to the event, but he or she will speak at the event if it's online, right? So you have 100 speakers and they're all there, but one or two that are like, I don't know, politics super important, like Barack Obama. Like I think it was Julian Assange or Edward Snowden at
Web Summit.
Web Summit, right?
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, he was speaking through streaming, right?
Yeah.
But how do you envision this? What will be the distribution like in your events coming forward? Like, once the pandemic is over and you will go back to this hybrid model? You will go to this hybrid model, and if so, how about the speakers?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the speakers, we haven't thought that much about that. We've thought more from the attendee side, but we would prefer to have the speakers physically there.
Correct.
Because it's more, if you have all the speakers together, you get another vibe between them, or at least all of them online. So they're all on the same kind of level, right? But I can imagine, I mean, in some cases, a great speaker will not be able to travel, and then this person should connect online. But we would try everything possible to make them come. I mean, we already managed to get, central banks and so on to travel to Barcelona and Copenhagen. So, and other high level people. So I think we would be able to do that also in the future. It also depends on how COVID looks like. But at least if we get COVID under control, people like to travel. And especially if it's a topic, that also is interesting for them, right? So they are willing to travel.
Yeah. However, because of the pandemic, the studies predict that 50% of business travel will be gone. Exactly. Therefore, that will have the direct. I mean, I don't think that will affect that much conferences for the attendees, because the market is so huge that if you are having a 500 people conference, it's easy to get 500 people from all over the world to attend your conference, right? But for speakers, you will have to work your ass off in order to get that list of 25, 50, 100 speakers, because it will be twice as hard to get them, right? Because they will not
true.
be traveling for business anymore. They will not be traveling to conferences. They will not be traveling to conferences of a certain size, right?
Yeah.
So is there any strategy that you are coming up with to deal with this? Are you preparing for this, or how do you think we can make it happen? Barcelona has got a lot of sufficient attractions. Like we say, like, look how sunny it is in Barcelona. It's almost December and it's 18 degrees outside and this blazing sun, right? However, how will you do it?
Well, to be honest, we haven't thought that much about it, but people are asking us, like, oh, even like, high level companies, like, when can you, do something physically again? Because people want to actually travel to Barcelona besides meeting in a conference. So how will we do it? I mean, I guess we will do it as we've always done. It's very much like, we speak directly with these high level people and invite them. And I guess for them, since it's an exciting topic, blockchain, it's exciting. They will continue to be interested. But again, if internally, as we all know, probably 50% of all business traveling will disappear in the future. They also need to argue or I mean internally, to say, okay, this conference is important because this and that. So maybe we should help them, make it a bit more clear why they should be there, so they can, get the the approval.
Thumbs
to travel.
up, yeah,
exactly, the approval to travel, right? I guess we have to think about that, because if you have to choose an important business meeting or an interesting conference, right? Maybe the business meeting is more valuable. But I guess, we have to think about that, how we can help our speakers to get the approval internally.
Barcelona is a good value proposition for any conference, because it's easy for us to say, like, we've flown people from fucking LA, the West Coast. They're like, even attendees. In our first conference, we had people from Los Angeles. They're like, I always wanted to come to Barcelona. So I saw there was Star Brand conference. They came. However, this is sort of what happens with the online screening of what we were mentioning before, right? If you get invited to a conference, which is in a place that's not so great, right? These places will lose a significant amount of good speakers and attendees, because they're like, I can go there online.
Exactly.
So, it's kind of like creating the same effect there. Anyways, that was sort of an unsolicited opinion or prediction, right? But I think that it will be much more difficult to create conferences in places that are not that appealing, right? For tourism.
Helsinki.
But precisely, I was thinking of Helsinki because, as much as I like Nordic countries, but I don't enjoy the cold, right? But Helsinki has got Slush, and Slush is more than a conference, but it's more than a conference, right? You go there for the whole experience, right? Same as Web Summit. So are conferences of the future something else, an evolution of business conferences? Like, would people still be going to boring conferences, or unless you put like something else surrounding the conference, people will not go there?
Well, I mean, I believe that, to get the internal approval, you cannot say that Barcelona is great and they have nice wine and nice food and nice sun, right? That's not the.
Of course not.
Yeah. So I guess at least for the speaker, for the attendees, that's going to be a plus. And I think it's going to help us, Alex, here in Barcelona, that we can do the conferences here,
definitely,
compared to doing it in Malmö, in South Sweden, or in Helsinki. Yeah, they have Slush, and it's a very important event, but it's not that sexy, right? It's not that sexy. So if you can do something online, I guess they will lose some attendees or some speakers, because Helsinki. I'd rather go to France, to Spain, to other more exotic countries where they have nice food and so on, right?
Maybe then people will be freeing up more time in the calendars, because they will be flying to fewer places, but they will do more meaningful stays, right? Or they will just, all right, that's an interesting way to put it. And maybe you and I, as conference organizers, will have to think more about the real experience for people attending. Like, what's the added value for attending in person? It will not only be the networking, because you can have also networking in Malmo, right? Yeah. But maybe like some surrounding events, as in like, the opening night, you said the gala night, whatever, it will be in a rooftop close to the sea, something like that. And then there's this activity, and then there's networking in a park in Barcelona or whatever thing, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like we'll have to think more about this kind of things, right?
True. We have to be more creative, indeed. Yeah.
All right. Last question to wrap this up, and I'm really thankful for your time, is what's the biggest fuck up you've ever done by organizing a conference? And if so, can you quantify it economically?
I guess economically, we haven't really done any big fuck ups, but I would say
congratulations, because I have.
Okay. No, I would say, I mean, when we did our edition in Copenhagen, I mean, it's not a fuck up, but at least we realized that it's difficult to make it as sustainable financially as in Barcelona. And I guess it's for several reasons, because the blockchain industry in the Nordics is not that big. I mean, it's also smaller countries. They have an industry, but it's smaller. And also, well, I guess it's more exciting to fly to Barcelona than it's to fly to Copenhagen, even though Copenhagen is a beautiful city. So, but I wouldn't call it a big fuck up. I would say maybe a fuck up. It's kind of like, well, we did our first hire this year, and we had to fire that person 5 months afterwards. Maybe that's a fuck up from our side, but I guess, I mean, we had no clue about how to hire a person. I mean, we're not experts in HR and so on. So that's kind of a fuck up, because, you know, you take out a person from one company, right? Bring it into your company, and then you invest time and money on this person. And then you realize that was not the right person. That's, I guess, but I mean, most young companies, well, even not young companies, just established companies do a lot of mistakes. Yeah, hiring, and it's difficult. It's difficult. So
it is difficult. Unfortunately, that's one of the mistakes that we get the most. Like, I hired the wrong person. We're not born being experts, right? And it's hard to predict how a person will kind of like roll out, right?
Yeah, and then you're like, oh no, but it's the employer's fault. But it's not. I mean, it was my fault. It was Daniel's fault. I mean, we didn't do our work correctly, right?
Anyways, well, thank you very much. Victoria, before you go, you've got this camera and you got all these people listening to us. In 1 minute, what should they know about you? What's going on in your life? Or what should they know about your businesses and next initiatives?
What should they know? Many things. We are launching the European Tech School, where we were providing blockchain courses to begin with. Besides that, I'm always very interested in investing. But investing is not always, I guess, it could be, right now we're actually talking to one of our clients where we're looking into if we can do a media for equity agreement. So basically providing our services, media services through the conferences, talks, and so on. And then they will give us equity or phantom shares. But yeah, I'm always looking into, investing, new opportunities. I've always been very excited about this part. So, I mean, anyone is very welcome to reach out. I'm always looking to, to provide value to others, but also to grow my net worth. And I think it's fun as well. So
perfect. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Victoria.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, everybody, and see you on the next episode. Bye.